415 homes, and there are over 1,000 real estate agents through the Greater Lansing Association of Realtors. That means there's not even one home for every two agents. So,
Wow. My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. All right, welcome to The Closing Table. My name is Kevin McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Jodey Custack. How you doing, Jodey?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Pleasure speaking with you today. I want to talk to you about some real estate business and your experience, obviously. Let's talk about your upbringing. You grew up selling vegetables door to door.
Yes,
When I
I
saw that was a unique skill set in its own. Can you talk about this and how this story is essential to who you are today?
absolutely. One of the greatest fears of anyone in sales is making cold calls.
Mm,
And when I was a child, my father raised four girls, and we had an acre garden at my grandmother's house that we worked every weekend, unfortunately, through the summers. And we would sell the vegetables at our house, which was located in Eaton Rapids. And if sales were low or slow, we would pack up our wagon and we would go door to door selling vegetables and knocking on doors. As you know, it can be a little bit intimidating,
yeah.
but the sweet reward that we reaped was a trip to Cedar Point. So if we wanted to go to Cedar Point, we had to learn how to make those cold calls, knock on doors, and sell
What?
our
Oh
vegetables.
man, I'm selling all the vegetables if I can go to Cedar Point for
Yes.
sure.
Yep, so we would sell the vegetables and dad would take us to Cedar Point. And so I kinda got
Nice.
over that fear of knocking on doors and also, got to experience the accomplishments of sales.
Nice. I remember going door to door and like selling candy and stuff like that as a child. I'm gonna tell you, you have to be built a certain way to be able to do stuff. Not only like it's the fear of, cold calling, just going door to door, and you just never know what kind of person you're gonna get, but you also have that small fear of rejection behind you.
Correct,
And that's
correct.
before you even like sometimes even answer the door. I mean, go up to the door, but you have that small fear. So to make it through that and to have a parent that actually pushed you through that, because having the skill set of sales, I mean, that's you can use that almost anywhere essentially. So for you to have a parent to push you through that skill set, that's an amazing
Yes,
thing
it
to
didn't
have.
matter whether I was selling tomatoes or whether I was selling health
Hmm.
insurance or whether I was selling
Yep.
homes. It's all the same process. It's
Precisely.
being it's being able to ask for the sale.
Precisely. That's beautiful. Okay, cool. Let's keep it moving then. Let's talk about your
Sure.
experience in real estate. 20 plus years experience in real estate.
Yes.
This is what I
Yes.
want to ask you. Your history goes back to at least the early 2000s, at least being a license. So, can we talk about if there's any marketing techniques or tactics that were here prior to social media that you feel like are still effective today?
Absolutely. The majority of my clients are referrals from prior clients, friends, or relatives,
Mm,
and
yeah,
that's never going to change. And
yeah.
having a trifold brochure or I have a booklet, a home buyer's guide or a
Hmm.
seller's guide that has information in it, but in addition, it has recommendations from my actual clients. And I think leaving something with your prospective clients that they can reference after they leave, especially when they're interviewing two or three agents, um,
Mm.
just puts it in there foremost. And those referrals are key and key to selling real estate.
Nice. Yeah. Word of mouth referrals. That's basically the answer
It
to that.
is.
You can never lose with that. That was a beautiful response. I
Thank
couldn't have
you.
said it any better. What type of positions have you held within real estate in the 20 years that you've been involved?
I became licensed in 1998, and at that time, I was working for a small commercial real estate firm as an
Mm,
office assistant general manager. When that company closed down in 2002, I went to work for a group of real estate related companies headquartered in East Lansing. So
mhm,
I managed a commercial and residential appraisal firm. I managed a real estate sales and leasing firm, a
mhm,
title company, and dabbled a little bit with our mortgage company. But I was a general manager over all of those companies, which kind of leads me to another point was the title company. Being
mhm,
licensed as a resident producer in the state of Michigan was another license I needed to obtain in addition to my broker's license. So in 2008, I became a broker
mm,
and took over the managing broker responsibilities of that firm. Also did property management. We had
mhm,
executive homes that we rented out, and we also had apartment complex, and we did real estate development for new projects, new construction projects. So I oversaw that group of companies for 17 years. And
mm.
in 2019, I quote unquote retired from my day job and went to work listing and selling real estate on a full time basis.
There it is. Nice. You mentioned you got your resident producer license? What is that? What is that exactly?
In the state of Michigan, in order to market or sell services for insurance, in this case, title insurance,
Mm,
you need to obtain a license through the Department of Licensing and Financial Services, I believe it's called now. So it's another
mm,
exam that you need to take and pass. And when you obtain that, then you are licensed as what they refer to as a resident producer. And in that process, I learned to understand the title aspect of a real estate transaction. So when you're going to sell a property, you order a title commitment from a
mhm,
title company. They send it back with a list of requirements. In other words, we will close and insure the title of this home provided you meet these requirements. And a lot of
right.
times there are things that never got discharged that were once a lien on the property. So I'm
Mhm.
able to go through those requirements with the buyers and the sellers and explain to them what actually is going to have to transpire to issue clear title to that new property owner.
Right. Okay. So ultimately, it sounds like it helps streamline your process by giving you more knowledge to help you prepare your clients for the next step when it comes to
That is
title insurance.
correct. That is
Mm,
correct.
mm,
And if you run
mm.
into a problem with title, then you're not at the last minute trying to explain the title to them. We
Correct.
attack it up front. So by the time we get to the closing table, those title issues have been cleared up and nothing is encumbering clear title to the new property owner.
Oh, nice, nice. Not only are you doing primary residence and residential properties, you're also doing commercial properties. Also, correct?
Over the last couple of years, I really haven't done a lot of commercial because residential has been insanely busy, as everyone is aware.
Um,
I have assisted a client in locating new lease space for a restaurant. I did do that last year, but for the
okay.
most part, the commercial at this point, I'm referring on to a commercial broker because residential has occupied 60 hours of my work week.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Can we talk about the commercial real estate in general? I don't think I've had this conversation with too many realtors on the show yet. What is for small business owners, what would be the first step if they are looking to inquire about commercial real estate for their business?
Well, the first step would be for them to talk to their realtor if they have one.
Mhm.
If they don't, they're free to call around. There are firms that deal only in commercial real estate, and then there are firms that deal both in residential and commercial. If their
Mm,
realtor does not provide those services, then their realtor can more than likely refer them on to somebody who is experienced dealing with commercial leases, particularly that's quite common in this area.
oh,
Retail
okay.
and office.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Got you. Working in real estate, I know you face many different challenges like you would face in any position that you've had. So let's talk about some of the challenges you face while working in real estate over your 20 plus years. What are some things that you've had to overcome?
Well, the challenge over the last couple of years has truly been to write an offer for a buyer that is competitive with
Hmm.
other offers they are receiving. We've had numerous multi-offer situations where you need to have an advantage of some type in the purchase agreement to bring your offer to the foremost, to the front, in front of the seller. A lot of clients, buyers last year were writing offers on properties, waiving home inspections.
Whew.
Um, it's
Mm-mm.
certainly a risk,
Yeah.
but if if you've got 2 offers and they're both the same price and one is waiving inspections and one is not, that seller
Yeah.
is certainly gonna go with the property or the offer that is waiving
Waiving
those
the inspection
inspections.
for sure.
The other challenge has been, because homes have been selling above list prices,
Hmm.
there's always a concern that the residential appraisal that is completed on that property is not going to support the purchase price in your offer.
Right.
So a lot of buyers were writing what they called an appraisal gap guarantee. In other words, they were saying, if the home does not appraise for the purchase price, say it's $200,000, if it doesn't
Mhm.
appraise for $200,000 and my offer is $220,000, I will bring that additional $20,000 to the table. And that way, the
Oh.
seller is ensured that they are going to get the purchase price
Mm.
in that purchase agreement.
Oh. Oh. That's interesting. Huh. So you're speaking in the fact of if the appraisal comes out more than the purchase price, correct?
Less.
Less. Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's the only thing that makes
So
sense. Okay.
so
So yeah,
the house is listed for $200,000, and you write an offer for $220,000, and in that offer, you say, if for any reason the house does not appraise for the purchase price, the buyer agrees to bring the additional cash to closing to ensure that the seller gets that
uh
$220,000.
wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so is that still going on now? Has is it slowing up a little bit? Is the market correcting in your market? Like what's going on now? Tell me that's not the
Um,
case.
Well, it's definitely slowed up. By all means,
Okay.
it has slowed up.
Okay.
As of this morning, there were 415 active listings
Mhm.
in our association's multiple listing service, the MLS. 415 homes, and there are over 1,000 real estate agents through the Greater Lansing Association of Realtors. That means there's not even one home for every 2 agents. So
Wow.
there still is a shortage. Um, Sales have slowed down a bit, but we are also in February, and January and February is typically slower. I'm really hopeful that it picks up soon. I'm working with a few sellers to have some properties listed within the next couple of weeks, and I expect that trend to follow on into the spring market.
Whew, man, that I'm telling you, just hearing about stuff like that, it almost scare you from wanting to buy a home, but I don't. I never like to scare people from buying a home because I mean, there's always a good time to buy a home. But man, that is intense. That is
Well,
intense right there.
on the flip side, the interest rates were at record lows, so
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
you could buy a house of higher value for a lower interest rate,
Mm-hmm.
and your
Mm-hmm.
payments would be the same as if the interest rate was higher.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay.
there was incentive to buy homes.
Right. Okay. Okay. There was a home that was relisted. You relisted because a realtor couldn't sell it after what 6+ months or so. You got that home relisted and sold it in less than a month, Jody.
That is correct.
The secret sauce. Can we talk about it? What did you do that you believe was different from your competitor that made your sale more successful? Your listing.
Well, the house was a residential condominium duplex, backed up to the woods, had a beautiful view, we had deer that came up to, by the deck. It was very,
Hmm.
very nice, and it was a bachelor's home, and he had hired a designer, and the designer had picked out paint colors for him, and the house was very, very, very blue. And
Okay.
it was a two-story condo, and it had lots of blue walls, and it had a cathedral ceiling, so the blue was endless.
Oh,
Um, so what we did the I had shown the condo to a buyer of mine, and my buyer did not want that condo. So when I left my business card, that agent called me and he called 2 other agents and said, "Why didn't your client like the house and what would you do differently?" So I met with him, asked him to update a couple of light fixtures that were from the 90s, the glass and brass that just didn't
mhm.
flow with what buyers are looking for. And I talked with him about our staging services. Inspired Home is owned by Jerry Jo Meyer. She's a broker owner, and she also has a staging company. She has a
Mm,
warehouse from everything from furniture to the napkins that you put on the table. And
right.
so I talked with him about staging the home. It had a very unique floor plan. It was difficult to see where you would put the couch. So we staged the entire lower level, which was the
Mm,
kitchen, dining room, and living room. We staged the primary bedroom on the second level, and it looked gorgeous. And the woman that actually bought it came through with her agent at an open house and said, I never thought I would like a blue house, but I think I'm going to keep this blue because the
really?
staging allowed her to see what it could be, not what it was. She could not
Ah,
visualize what the home could be.
right.
And
That is a consistent narrative on this show, the difference that staging a home makes.
it's huge.
That is crazy because you can go from like what was said before. You can go from maybe downsizing. You have a big home. The kids are out now, so you got a bunch of stuff, and you need to figure out how to utilize this smaller space with all your stuff. Or you can go from a smaller space to a bigger space. But either way it goes, some people just don't have that imagination or that vision to see how can I make this space mine. Especially if there's either no furniture there or there's like some crazy looking painting or fixtures. It's just they're like, I just can't connect this. But that is so crazy how much I wouldn't think, me personally, I wouldn't think just putting furniture in a home would make that big of a difference with someone wanting to choose to buy that house. I'm not keeping this furniture. I'm bringing my home furniture in. So I don't know. I would think it wouldn't influence me, but that's amazing how that's been a consistent story.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
it gives them an opportunity to see the house in a layout that is open concept. Everybody wants
Hmm.
open concept, clean sight lines. You want to be able to walk in the house and see through the house, see to the back of the house, and staging the home helps them see that.
That is crazy. I'm gonna have to look at new homes in staging homes, staged homes. I'm gonna have to look at that completely different now. But anyway, new developments and construction. That usually happens, very frequently in any and every market at a given moment. So, any new developments or constructions happening in your area that could potentially affect the real estate market?
There are a few developments that were ongoing prior to COVID that have picked back up, and we're seeing homes being constructed again. The downside is the building cost of materials has skyrocketed. I know
Yeah.
some of it has leveled off, some of it is leveled off but stayed high.
Mhm.
And that really needs to be taken into account when someone is looking at how much am I going to spend on a per square foot basis to buy a home versus how much am I gonna spend to build that home? Because building a home, you have to think of window treatments, landscaping, grass. I mean, there's a lot
Mhm.
of things that you have to consider
Right.
that typically with an existing property are already well established.
Right.
Um, and you usually can buy more for your buck than you can build for your buck. I do
Yeah.
stay in contact with a couple of contractors, a home builder that I've worked with for years, and also a contractor that is very good about going in and taking a house and making some modifications to make it work for the new homeowner. So we can do
Gotcha.
some construction, change a wall, take this wall out. do whatever needs to be done, update the bathrooms, update the kitchen, and what those costs are too.
What about for an example, let's say you have a client or whatever looking for homes, and in a certain subdivision or near a certain subdivision, there's a Walmart or a Meijer that's being built. And they're literally just starting the process. How does that affect a certain residential area? Does the price of those homes instantly go up? Are people immediately interested in certain areas where they know there's a big development coming, like a big box store, something like that, that is going to provide a lot of jobs, by the way? Does that type of move influence residential markets or anything that you have going on with clients?
It can, but it can
Hmm.
also do the opposite. It depends on
Mm,
if this is going to increase traffic flow in front of my house. What
good
is it
point.
going to do? What is it going to do to the neighborhood to add those properties? So some
Good point.
people like the convenience of shopping right around the corner. Other people like to go to the hustle bustle, do their shopping, and then get out of Dodge and go back home
Right,
to
right.
where it's quieter. So that plays a big role in it. It's what the client's needs are.
It's a good perspective. I actually hadn't thought about that part, that side of the coin. Like, yeah, some people aren't necessarily happy with a lot of people coming in and out, going to the Walmart and bringing a lot of traffic in the area. That's a great. That's good. Okay. There's a quote. I want to know if you know what this is from.
Oh,
Quote:
that's
A home buyer will have it in their head what they think they're looking for. And what they end up buying is something totally different than that because I help them identify what best suits their needs. Now, can you explain to us how do you help identify the needs of a client that may be different from a home that they're already looking for?
well, I've had 2 clients in particular that bought way outside of what they were looking for. When we
Mm,
originally started looking, for a client to purchase a new home, they had a young family, and they wanted to be in a subdivision with a neighborhood. And as we toured properties, um, you can read through their body language and see in their facial expressions what do they like this or don't they like this.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so just picking up on what the clients aren't saying in words, I can pick up in body language and say, "Hey, have you considered this?" Because the last time we went to a showing, you mentioned that you want to have a place where your kids can play baseball in your backyard. This neighborhood is not going to allow this. But if you look at this
mhm.
house over here, it has most of what you're looking for, and it allows you the ability to have kids play baseball in your backyards. And they ended up buying a country home on 3 acres.
Hmm.
The other client wanted at least 5 acres, and, they didn't wanna look at any houses that were under 5 acres, and I came across a house that met their criteria, but it was only on 2 acres. And so the house had everything else they wanted, but it was only on 2 acres. So I took them to see the house, and they still live in that house today.
Nice. Nice. You know what I like about what you said, Jody? Not only are you listening to what they're saying verbally, but you're paying attention to their body language and all the nonverbal cues also. And some of the things that they may say that may go under the bridge for some people, but you're taking note. She said, "Oh, I want a backyard where my kids can play baseball." You're making a mental note of that and attaching that to another property that you know of. So you're
Right.
going way beyond. That's one thing I would think. Like you would just say, you just listen to the client, but it's a lot more than that. So I'm
It
so
is.
glad that you broke that down and said that too, because
Yes, it is.
obviously it made a difference.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did.
All right, Jody. Well, thank you so much. You provided a lot of insight. Thank you for allowing us to be nosy and dig into your business, into your experience. Before we get out of here, can you do us a favor? If you have any last words, you can go ahead and let the people know any last words and tell them how they can get in contact with you.
Well, I have a wealth of knowledge and experience. I love working with both buyers and sellers, and I am here if you need me. My what I excel in is communication and
Mhm.
follow through. Those are two things that are very high priorities for me. You can reach me on my cell phone at 517-648-8893, or you can email me at jccustack, and that's
Mhm.
jccustack at gmail.com. I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure I can do a good job.
There it is. For your real estate needs, reach out to Jodey Custack. She got you. Very, very knowledgeable in that regards. Thank you again, Jodey. Before we get out of here, I need my YouTube audience to do us a favor. Hit the like button. If you got this far, you watching? Yeah, hit the like button, hit the share button, and also hit the subscribe button also. And for our audience listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Hit the like button, give us a 5-star rating, and also subscribe to our channel so that you can get caught up with the latest content. And before we get out of here, I gotta have a question for our audience, by the way, Jodey. Today I'm asking our audience, if you already own a home, what is some advice that you would give to someone who's currently looking to purchase their first home? Some things that you wish you would have known. Leave your comments below. Other than that, we'll see you next time.